So the ANC has in recent years been facing various organizational challenges, and this comes in a context where it also tries to defend, in some instances, corruption-accused leaders in various structures. There are also suggestions that this will cost the organization greatly in the lead-up to the 2024 general elections. In fact, members within the party are also calling for greater youth and women representation at leadership level. So let's take a look at the role that can still be played to kind of lead the ANC in the right direction. Bring in NEC member Nomvula Mokonyane, who joins us now via our video link this morning. It's great to have you on the program. Thanks very much indeed, as always, for making time to speak to us. You know, just taking a glance at the Sunday papers yesterday, there was an article about the study that had been done by the Social Research Foundation, which in part has found that there's a great sense that South Africa is headed in the wrong direction under the leadership of the ANC. And this is across the racial divide and across the gender divide. Do you think those people who were surveyed and who gave that response are justified in how they're feeling?
Thank you very much for inviting us on your platform. Morning to you and morning to your viewers. I wouldn't say they are wrong, but I would correctly say maybe they are justified. Justified because issues of gender inequality have actually gained a lot of exposure in our country. We live in a country where gender-based violence and femicide has actually reared its ugly head to an extent where even children, girl children, are exposed to sexual abuse and even murder. We live in a society where on the economic front there's still a lot of work to be done, where the system, business and the private sector have not been coming to the party, including various other political parties, when it comes to gender equity and gender representation. Racism has actually taken a very serious arrogant posture. If you look at the economic imbalances, of course you find that it is still white males that continue to stand to benefit, continue to be empowered, and of importance, they are the ones who are also dominating in terms of the ownership of the means of production. There are these kind of challenges, but it is only the ANC in this country that has put upfront programs and interventions that seek to eradicate sexism, that seeks to deal with patriarchy, although it is also very difficult because you have those stereotypes even within the African National Congress.
Yeah, if I can come in there. I hear you. I mean, you speak about the private sector and other parties not coming to the party when it comes to improving gender representativity. And the ANC, I mean, how many women, for instance, are in your top 6?
I have already said to you that same with the organization, although it has those sound and progressive policies. Over time, the issue of the top 6 has not been seen as a structure, but the top 6 has always been seen as a collective of the 86. And unfortunately, we continue to have one woman, may her soul rest in peace, in the current NEC. But in the NEC in its entirety, the issue of gender parity is a practice. Just yesterday, we celebrated something that has never happened in the history of any political party, and therefore nobody can compare us with anyone. Instead, we need everybody to support us. We went to a conference in the Northwest. Only 4 women qualified in terms of the branch nominations to be in the additional list of PEC members. There were nominations of over 73 additional members from the floor. And guess what? Delegates of the ANC voted for 20 women out of 30 additional members of the ANC. And it took a lot of work, persuasion throughout the nomination processes. We had to interact with leaders of the various regions. We had to interact with the representatives of structures. Unfortunately, the Women's League was not there. And I think it is an indictment on the league, but thanks to members of the league who out of their own volition, did this kind of work.
Yeah.
And everyone made sure that we have 21 out of 35 additional members. So don't compare. You can compare us with everyone so that you teach others about how it has to happen and how you have to be bold in fighting for gender equality.
Okay. What lessons do you think arise then from the Women's League itself having to be disbanded because it's not able to do its work the way it needs to be?
I think it is an unfortunate situation that the Women's League had to be disbanded. My understanding and that of the NEC, of the ANC, is that it got disbanded because of the end of its term of office. Unfortunately, how it got handled then became a setback. The Women's League carried the ANC over years. Coming from Nasrec, it helped to heal the ANC during the height of COVID and now facing the issues of gender inequality and economic depression. It was the Women's League that was out there with the Molo Makelwane members of the ANC Women's League. And therefore the ANC stands on the strength of the ANC Women's League, which we must not contribute towards weakening because of all these castings that we have said. As I've said, the Women's League in the Northwest opted not to participate in the conference, but women leaders of the ANC rose to the occasion. Activists and leaders, male of the ANC, rose to the occasion and said, we must do this for Rita Nzanga, we must do this for Makotane, for Ruth Mumpati, and they made the Northwest to actually be a trendsetter, which I hope, and some of us are going to work very hard on it, going to December and beyond, that it is time that women learn from those who came before them and disabuse ourselves from factions that seek to promote male superiority. We did it in Durban with the 30% quota. We broke ranks with delegations from our provinces. We were able to persuade conference. Tera Likota, who was the chair, was trying to dismiss, and many other leaders of the ANC, that demand of the women. Matiba was the leader who stood by our side, and today we had 30%. Now we have over a minimum of 50% gender parity representation. Only the ANC.
You're saying the Northwest is a trend setter and you hope other provinces follow this trend, because I put it to you, you also acknowledge that what took place in the Northwest is the exception and not necessarily the rule. But let me take us back to 2017. There was a diagnostic organizational report that was delivered by Gwede Mantashe, who I think at the time was actually the Secretary General. That report really laid bare some of the issues within the organization, many people might argue, but it was met with hostility even from people within the ANC, because it was seen as some kind of factional tool to attack certain people within the party. My question then becomes, is there space within the ANC to honestly take stock of where things gone wrong without that descending into factionalism that ironically ends up hurting the ANC?
There is hope, and there is evidence of some aspects of organizational renewal. Amongst others, it's what I've said about what happened in the Northwest. Secondly, we've been painstakingly working on the system of getting branches of the ANC being reconstituted. And how that happens is to liberate the members so that you do away with gatekeeping. It's to devolve more authority to the branch, which is the basic unit of the organization, and is to integrate political education as an immediate means of making everybody familiar with policies and programs of the ANC. What has also happened is that we've also resolved that we'll have guidelines that help us to deal with issues of selection and election of leadership. Of course, in the midst of renewing the organization, there will be those who are still hell-bent on triumphalism and those who are hell-bent on a position of trying to fight back. And those are things that are not helpful. We need to all focus on what is good for the people of South Africa, how we deploy, how we redeploy, how we build the organization, because without a strong organization, without an organized ANC, without a highly resourced ANC, without an accessible ANC, will not be able to continue being a leader of society. But you have seen, we've also repositioned ourselves in terms of being with people, amongst people, and responding to issues that affect society. We've done it with the floods in KwaZulu-Natal. It was branches of the ANC across the country.
Well, sorry to interrupt you there. I mean, I don't think that's the greatest example. I mean, we've just seen a preliminary report from the Auditor General flagging possible corruption insofar as the allocation of those funds in KZN are concerned. So I'm not sure if that's what you want to look at as a possible shining example of the ANC being a leader of society.
I'm sure if you could have listened to me properly, I'm saying branches, members of the ANC, outside of government programs. And if there's some maladministration, let it be investigated.
But those are ANC-run government departments.
I'm saying, I agree with you. If there are issues, let them be investigated. I'm saying our role on solidarity and being a caring organization goes beyond us being in government, but through our own branches across the country, across provinces. We played our role. We contributed. We pledged solidarity. And every member of the ANC didn't abdicate the issue of solidarity solely to government. We saw leadership of the ANC from Limpopo, from Northwest, from Mpumalanga, descending into KwaZulu-Natal to pledge solidarity with ordinary South Africans as part of our responsibility. Secondly, we continued to do a lot of work during COVID using the Molo Makelwane program of the ANC. Sure. Community work has become a centerpiece of the work that we do as an organization, and not just election of leaders.
And I wonder how those communities are feeling about the track record of the ANC at this stage. Nomvula Mokonyane, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. Really do appreciate your take on this Monday morning. Nomvula Mokonyane speaking to us in his capacity there as an ANC NEC member.